Let this dollar bill represent a single atom. This is what 10 atoms would look like. This is what 100 atoms would look like. This is what 1 million atoms would look like. This is what 1 billion atoms would look like. Then there's you.
Ladies and gentlemen!
No. I mean the average 155 pounds human with 7 octillion atoms, or should I say 7 billion atoms. That is 7 followed by 27 zeros, compared to a billion that has 9 zeros. And then imagine if you could manipulate them in a certain way to project fire from your body, or to shoot electricity like Azula from Avatar The Last Airbender.
I'd really rather our family physician look after little Zuzu if you don't mind.
Power, I mean magic system, is somewhat fundamental aspect of world building. A good one can enhance your narrative, taking it to new heights and making the setting unique and immersive. A bad one can ruin your narrative, and not having one at all doesn't do shit to your narrative. So why the hell do I have one? That's an interesting question, and that's a story for another time. Well, to be honest, that will be after I finish sharing the magic system, and as to not waste your time. Think Hunter x Hunter's name meets Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood Alchemy, but it's physics, or should I say science based, and you get my magic system called atomic manipulation. Yeah, I know the name still needs some working on, but that isn't why you're here. As the name implies, it all has to do with the manipulation or control of atoms. Users can manipulate their own body atoms to gain various types of abilities, like accelerating or vibrating their atoms at great speed to shoot fire from their body parts by releasing the heat caused by the vibration of the atoms. But you see, each of the ability has a specific cost or drawback for using them, depending on how the atoms of the body are being manipulated. Forget tiring out. I'm talking about real cost and consequences. The fire user suffers from freezing, cause when heat leaves the body, what remains is cold, and as such, their body part freezes up, and if they overdo it, they can freeze the entire body, which can lead to death. So yeah, it's a hard magic system. Control is at the atomic level. It can even go to the molecular level, depending on our ability. Some abilities counter each other or complement each other, creating a rock paper scissors dynamic. Another rule is that users can manipulate external atoms, that means atoms outside their own, except through atomic drift, which reduces lifespan. Atomic drift is a technique whereby the user releases their own atoms as how plants releases their spores into the environment. These atoms then create a radius, or should I say circumference, around the user, and within that radius or circumference, they are able to manipulate other atoms to do as they want, as long as their spore-like atoms are attached to them. Simply put, it's a power-up, range ability, and a versatility tool determined by the user's ability.
Bungee gum contains the properties of both rubber and gum, you see.
Think domain expansion, but this time you pay with some years. Let me give an example. If a fire user does atomic drift, they can manipulate the atoms within their drift radius to increase their output and do whatever type of fire related tricks they want in that radius. Fire dragon, swords, horse, and so on. Anything you think that is related to fire, they can do. But you have to remember that he gets the fire from somewhere, so a portion of the radius will need to be frozen as they absorb the heat from there. He can freeze his opponent by absorbing the surrounding heat, indirectly freezing them in the process, as long as they are within his radius. I want to clarify that a specific ability can only do a specific related thing in the atomic drift radius. A fire user can only do fire related stuffs and nothing else. So now, what's the cost of this technique? Well, it's aging. The technique visibly and physically ages up the user. A year for every 15 seconds in a 4-foot radius. That means 4 years a minute in a 4-foot radius. But guess what? The radius can actually be increased by the user. The sky is the limit. But remember, the bigger the radius, the faster the aging. An 8-foot radius ages 2 times faster, and so on in a linear pattern. So, a fight that lasts for 5 minutes can age an individual 20 to 40 years, depending on if it's a 4 or 8-foot radius. This is because during a drift, that's atomic drift, the many atoms of yours that didn't spread like spores now have to perform malfunctions and compensate for the atoms that aren't around, aging you because the atoms are now severely overworked. Think about those mapper animators that look older than their actual age because of overworking, and you get the idea. And sometimes, the spread out atoms of yours get absorbed by other more strongly bonded atoms, losing the ability to return. These are the reasons for the aging up. And I want to emphasize that no matter how powerful or good one is at atomic drift, they can't manipulate a human's atom, as every human have equal innate control as much as any other person. Each user's ability reveals their internal conflict. I don't think I need to say too much about this one, as it's more of a narrative tool for me. Another rule is that overusing of abilities can lead to severe consequences depending on ability. A fire user can freeze to death, and even if they survive, they can suffer serious frostbites everywhere. And as such, they have to choose which parts of their body gets frozen first. Also, they are immune to fire, which makes for excellent firefighter material. One more rule is that a person can only have a single ability, no matter what. If both parents have different abilities, they either get one of their parents' ability or no ability. Or if they are lucky, they develop a phenomenal type of ability. That's one of the specializations of the different abilities. And as for why only one ability, well, that's something I can't tell you, as it will spoil some laws, revelations, and character motivations of the story.
You had a little sister till that man fed her to his dog.
And now for the categories of abilities. Most abilities belong to one of the 3 specialization classes of energy, matter, and phenomenon. And also, a soon-to-be specialization class is called the anomalies. The requirement for being a specialization class is a minimum of 5 different abilities, which the anomalies doesn't meet, because only 3 abilities have been discovered so far. And you may ask why. Well, it's because anomalies are mutated forms of an existing ability, which retain the main core of the ability they spawn from. They are believed to be a sign of evolution, but an unstable one at that. I'm only going to list 2 of these abilities and the main ability they originated from, to show you the difference. Teleportation, which is the main ability from the phenomenal class of specialization. The user can shoot places with anything or anyone. They have some of the atoms within them or in them, no matter where in the world. As long as the atoms is on it, they can exchange position, but a maximum of 5 times the user's body mass. Anything larger will be cut down during the teleportation process to the right mass. Excessive use of this ability can cause them to start glitching. Teleporting uncontrollable to different locations, which can happen anytime, like when they are sleeping or bathing. And to dangerous situations, like in the sky, inside a body of water, in front of a car, and so on. And in severe cases, can switch or exchange their body parts with another object that has the atoms in them or another person's body parts. Imagine losing your arm to a blender or your heart to a piece of rock. You're dead instantly. But The Anomaly version instead makes use of wormholes that allow them to move from one direction to another by tearing space or bending space to the need of the user. But as it's a mutated form, upon activation of the ability, Atomic Drift immediately starts with a minimum of 12 feet radius, which ages the user 3 times faster than the normal drift. The wormhole instant movement from one direction to another is only possible within the atomic drift radius or circumference. But you see, even with such massive drawbacks, they are still formidable foes, as they can use their portals to rip, cut, tear, and kill people within their drift radius, redirect attacks back at the opponent or their teammates, and many more. But they have to predict the movement of the enemy, as they can't just open a portal on a space that has already been occupied or filled. The second anomaly is a mutated form of an existing ability in the matter manipulation class, matter mimicry. The original ability allows the user to copy the properties of matters like wood, diamond, gold, steel, and so on by touching them, which allows them to mimic the atomic structure by rearranging their own atoms, either expanding or contracting to be able to match the level of atomic bonds. Example, let's say a user tries to mimic the hardness of a diamond. Their body will have to shrink 5 times the original size, as what gives diamond their insane durability is how closely bonded the atoms are, and the same rule applies to every different types of matter. Quick side note, they take the form of the matter they mimic. A person that copies a diamond will literally have diamond skin, but the anomaly version doesn't need to shrink its size to achieve the durability of a diamond. It can do so by gathering little bits of atoms from different parts of his body to harden only a select section of his body parts, which leaves the other body part exposed.
If I attack with both hands, it leaves the rest of my body defenseless.
And you have to remember that diamonds are strong because of how closely bonded and compact their atoms are, which requires a lot of atoms to do so. That's why the original ability had to shrink size to compensate. And as the anomaly version doesn't lose their size, they have to pay with parts of their body being fragile. I mean literally very fragile. That pressing on them with little force can instantly tear them, and as such, punching them can tear the skin and tie in the internal organs. So users must always determine which parts of their body should they carry atoms from. No, I mean should they leave unprotected.
Take this!
And now for the normal types of specialization. Energy, as the name implies, deals with the control of energy. These are users who convert, project, or absorb fundamental forms of energy through control manipulations of their own atomic states and interaction. Power output requires significant internal energy expenditure. Their abilities are the most straightforward. Example, electricity users. These individuals can take the electrical signals generated by their nerves, synapses, and neurons, redirecting it outward as offensive electrical discharge. They can increase the output by vibrating the atoms at increased speed. But unlike the fire users that suffer from freezing, they suffer from thinning, where they gradually lose their mass over time. This is because, unlike the fire users, they can't release the heat the atom generates from vibration, which in turn leads to them burning up and reducing in size. And if they overdo it, they can resemble someone suffering from a malnutrition deficiency called marasmus, so they need to know when to stop. Also, if they release all the electricity in their body, they die from neural shutdown, as their brain can't receive or send data to important parts of the body. But before that, they start to lose functionality of their body parts one by one. Hands not working, legs follow suit, and so on, because they are diverting the electricity that should be used to run that body part outward. And if they are lucky and don't die, they can be paralyzed for life, staying in a coma state. Another energy ability is that of the nuclear users. They can cause explosion by either forcefully fusing the atoms or separating them, which creates a chain reaction that releases nuclear energy. But they can control the amount of energy they release by selecting the numbers of atoms that undergo a chain reaction. Each method of releasing nuclear energy has its own consequences.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, you fucker!
Fission causes the user to undergo severe external mutations like growing extra body parts in unwanted areas, eyes on stomach, teeth on arms, nose on legs, hands on back, and so on. Make their arms taller than usual, grow additional fingers, 7, 10, whatever. Skin starts peeling off, growing tree-like branches on their backs, and so on. Why fusion affects them internally? Bone cancer, brain tumor, excision of their internal organs gradually turning into a limb, heart mutations, and so on. Both outcomes are unpredictable, but it's always advised to use fusion if needed, as at least it's detectable and visible. The second specialization is the matter class. The users can alter the physical structure, composition, or properties of their own body at the atomic level. This includes changing form, mimicking materials, or replicating biological templates. Example: Shapeshifters. By touching the required target for 30 to 60 seconds, they can mimic the atomic and molecular structure of that person, allowing them to take the form of that contact for 10 minutes through molecular rearrangement. But if the target has a greater or smaller mass, which also includes height, their body can forcefully compress or span their bones to meet the requirement, and in return, they experience excruciating pain and agony as their body is experiencing rapid and forceful growth in seconds, which can lead to passing out for newbies. They are advised to carry numbing drugs around to deal with this. Also, if they stay in the copied form longer than 10 minutes, they start to lose memories of the original self, instantly adopting the personality of the target they copied, forgetting who they actually are, what they were doing, and so on. In fact, everything before they copy the target gets erased, becoming the target literally. And even if they never lose their identity, repeated use of their ability can affect their body and mind, almost driving them insane and leaving them with disformed body parts and organs, as the many targets they have copied can make their brain forget what the original body parts are and look like. Also, the constant compressing or expanding of their bones can strain the body, and I have to clarify that although users can compress or expand their body to copy a target, it has a limit of 50% increase or decrease of their own body mass. As for another example, I listed it when talking about the anomalies. The last specialization is the phenomenon class. This is the same as Hunter x Hunter's name specialist. It's any ability that I can give a somewhat scientific atomic explanation to, and most of them heavily borrow from quantum physics and mechanics, superposition, quantum tunneling, and so on. The first example is cloning. The user can create multiple copies of themselves, one per day. Every clone they create is different from the other, and must have something that can visibly differentiate them. Height, voice, personality, color of eye, color of hair, scar shape, scar placement, and so on. These clones cannot distinguish between themselves no matter what. But if an outside force points out the differences between them to their own hearing, and they observe these differences, they immediately have an internal crisis and kill themselves with their own hands, ripping their throats, stabbing themselves, jumping off a building, burning themselves, standing in the middle of a road, and so on. And there's nothing anybody can do to make them not want to kill themselves. And whatever memory, skills, and knowledge they had goes to the original, including their traumatic memory and feelings, which makes the original mentally unstable and unsafe to be around.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Also, the more memories they gain of their clone's life, the easier it is for them to lose their identity, and as such, they are mostly sedated. Any benefit they get from their clones are passed on to every newly created clones. The internal crisis and suicide is a result of Schrödinger's cat and the superposition principle, where an atom can exist in multiple states at once, but when observed, only one state remains. That's why they have different visible features implying multiple states, and die when observed by an outside force. The only state that remains is the original. But you see, despite these consequences, the ability shouldn't be downplayed at all, as multiple clones can learn multiple skills, and knowledge at the same time. And when they all die, it gets transferred to the original afterwards. And any clone that comes later will be proficient in all the skills and knowledge the multiple clones before it lands. And as a result, the clones are mastered of almost everything: language, fighting styles and skills, cooking skills, repairing almost anything, human psychology, human biology, and so on. Which makes them able to improvise instantly. Simply put, these are the ultimate Merisus. They are advised to keep the numbers of clones they create to a minimum, and to spread their clones to different parts of the world. Also, when 2 or more clones are to work together, they should wear a full body mask to prevent anyone from noticing anything. Another example from the phenomenon class is the copying ability. The users of this ability are able to mimic the atomic state of any ability they want to use, but they have to see the ability in use and make cutout for some seconds to be able to use that ability. And even then, it only lasts for 10 minutes, depending on the experience. The ability suffers 2 drawbacks. One from the ability they copied. Let's say they copied fire. The drawback will be freezing. The other drawback is from the use of their own ability, which is mental deterioration, where they often have mental breakdowns and moments of schizophrenia. This is because their brain has not had the required time needed to adapt or properly integrate with the atomic state of the ability they copied, like the original user, which has had their abilities since childhood, and their brain has naturally built up and grown with the need to use that ability. Simply put, they are forcing their brain to speed up a process that takes years in seconds, which leads to mental breakdown.
No!
The last example I'm giving from the phenomenon class is the adapter.
つまみ寿司が消えるまで絶え間なく浴びせられる初見の技にて敵
These are the absolute defense mechanism, and only one can exist at any given time. The users of this ability don't age up at all, as their body needs to be in peak physical condition, and as such, their lifespan is shortened. They only live up to 35 to 45 years at best. This is because they always have an atomic drift on, albeit the rate is being very, very small. These drifts act as an antenna. They are warning their body of incoming dangers, and if their body can't adapt on time, it teleports them to their happy zone, their safe zone. Their body can adapt to any ability it's seen before, even those it's seen from its previous owner. But you see, the ability's main goal is to keep its host alive, and as such, the ability is a reactionary one that only activates when there is danger, and they can't choose which ability comes up. But they can subtly influence it by building confidence so as to not get teleported, and by knowing when to put themselves in danger, they can influence the purpose of the ability they get.
Did you do it?
I want to clarify that there are still more abilities, like black hole users from energy class, healing from matter class, abilities that are brought from quantum tunneling and the certain principle from phenomenon class, and many more. I didn't share this and many because this video is already long and it might ruin some plot twists, terms and plot points in the story I'm writing. Think Breaking Bad meets Attack on Titan meets Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood with a pinch of Berserk to give you a general idea of the story I'm writing. Also, I still want to remind that every ability can make use of atomic drift, which increases their range and basically gives them a power-up. Let me give some examples. A shapeshifter with atomic drift can now copy the target's ability while looking like them to be able to use it. They also gain the knowledge of how to use the ability as good as the target. But you see, the more they gain from the target, ability, knowledge and so on, the easier and faster it is for them to use themselves, permanently becoming the target. And they still need to pay for using atomic drift with their lifespan. Also, they don't need to physically touch a target. As long as that person is within their drift radius, they copy them, ability and all. As for the anomaly of matter mimicry, with atomic drift, they cannot attract external atoms within their drift radius, but instead of changing the atomic structure, they only reshape the object into whatever form they desire, and can control the atoms without it being on their body, as long as it's within their drift radius, forming weapons, shield, full body armor, anything they can think of. Why the original matter mimicry with atomic drift attracts external atoms on their body to enforce them. So now when they change, they can retain their original size while still having the hardness of a diamond, and can even become bigger in size. The sky is literally the limit. But it also means a bigger drift radius, which might kill the person before they become as big as Godzilla. And despite the drift radius, the atoms have to be on their body to be able to change atomic structures to that of a diamond or anything. Think of it this way: the anomaly can change the shape of steel, but it still remains steel. But the original can change steel to gold as long as it's on their body. But how closely bonded the atoms are, see whether they expand or shrink. And both users of matter mimicry still have to pay for the use of atomic drift as long as it's active. Atomic drift is a choice, so you can use it or not. Well, except for the anomaly, teleporter, and adapter. But still, it's your choice to use your ability. Well, except for the adapter. But at least, no sneak attacks and peak physical condition. But he won't live long. Yeah, I pity him.
Think of a big black man chasing you!
I know there'll be someone that asks, if I can control the atoms in my drift radius, why don't I just remove the oxygen to suffocate my foes? And I say, I don't agree, because it's very boring and everybody can do the same thing then. So yeah, subscribe, leave a like and turn on the notification bell. Also, what do you think about the magic system? I'm still refining it, so if it's spotting hiccups, let me know so I can fix it and start writing.